When you get to meet the family and people involved, what do you learn about this guy? Because we see it in the movie, and you can only tell so much in 2 hours about how great he was and how much he inspired people. But what were some of the layers you saw that you didn't know about?
Well, yeah, it's hard because, everyone says he was the best guy I ever knew. He was like a perfect person. And so you have to kind of try to accept that, but then get underneath, what was the stuff that made him so courageous and so positive. But it's cool because these guys who played with him and who were his friends, and Sammy Steinmark, his brother, was there a lot on set, and they still talk about him like he's alive. They remember, and this is 40-something years ago, and they remember stories like they were yesterday. And they remember this time of their lives when they played football for University of Texas like it was the climax of their life. They remember stuff with such immense detail that you're kind of like, what did I do when I was 18?
I didn't remember what I ate for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a very kind of contagious passion to tell this story down there.
One of the cool things is the football scenes. I'm a sports fanatic, so
Yeah,
watching
good.
that stuff, I love, the contact and everything else. What was it like filming that stuff?
Good,
It looked pretty realistic.
That was the big goal. Angelo wanted football fans to walk away happy. He wanted them to be like, that's actually a football movie that looks like the game of football, And we recreated a lot of actual sequences and actual plays. We would YouTube the game, the big Arkansas game, and we would almost as with as much detail as we could recreate what actually happened. I had to go through a intense football boot camp before we started, which made me more sore than I've ever been in my life. And football is much more of a mental game than people realize. More than I realized. There's a lot of complicated strategy that goes into it. And Freddie was a defensive safety, so he's kind of the last line of defense. It was a huge education.
You do get to play Coach Royal, man. This dude, you talk about a guy who displays hard-nosed toughness, football coachness, and then he's got a vulnerability to him. Talk to me about what drew you to this guy.
Yeah, he is that coach. If you want to be a winning coach in a winning program, you have to be a hard-nosed guy and teach with discipline, teach with power. It's interesting, he had a relationship with Freddie Steinmark, an undersized player, the first out-of-state recruit for UT, and he saw something in him and believed in him, and Freddie worked his way onto the first squad and became the inspiration for the defense. Coach Royal didn't have that relationship with all of his players. Some of the former players said that they had said 3 words in 4 years with Coach.
It's fascinating.
So Freddie really had an impact on his life. Coaching is interesting. I've learned that you have to coach with an iron fist, and being a coach of a large program like this is like being a CEO. You don't have contact with the workers all the time, and that's why this particular relationship is so important and so inspiring.
This is such a different generation. You have a young woman. I'm think of it today. Would it be the same? And it probably wouldn't.
I don't think so. No,
it wouldn't,
I think
right?
it gets convoluted as sort of the decades progress. But yeah, in 1950s, this is the most honest and purest story we can possibly tell.
She stuck by him through the hardest
everything.
Stuff. How do you depict that? How do you and Finn create that chemistry to be able to depict that?
Do you know what? Because I think it's a partnership. There's no one more dominant than the other. I think it was an equal partnership, and that was really important. She was not just, I guess, a doting girlfriend, nor was he a doting boyfriend. They loved each other like a partnership and a team. And I think that was the most important thing. That was when Linda Wheeler was on the phone to me. This is what they were. This was the truth. They were inseparable, and they were important to each other on a whole level that I've probably never experienced in my real life.
When you look at, obviously, Rudy and Hoosiers, there's a happy ending. With this movie, there's not such a happy ending, but there was still a balance of trying to make it inspirational. As a writer, how do you still make something like this inspirational, despite the ending maybe not being the perfect Hollywood ending?
Well, that's a really it was an interesting challenge, and I also will take up your word inspirational and twist it into something positive, because, and I've heard this story time and time again after screening this movie many times for many audiences, is that there is a sadness, there is a sense of tragedy and a sense of loss at the end of the movie, but at the same time, there is a power in his story that he lives on and that he still inspires and that he has become a role model for so many people. The Freddie story is part of the ritual for the University of Texas football team. Before every game, they honor him, and that's 45 years after he passed. That, when we showed this to Coach Charlie Strong at the University of Texas, who really wasn't that aware of the story at all, he said the first thing that my freshman class is going to see when they come in is this movie. And
That's
on
awesome.
the sands, because this is what University of Texas football is about, and this is what they should aspire to, our players. And that is, so we all live our lives we don't know how long we're going to live, but we hope that we can leave something legacy and we can leave something behind that people remember us by in a very positive way. So I actually think that there is an upbeat aspect to the end of this movie.